All right, let's talk about brackets. Well, it's that time of year where everybody is filling out a March Madness bracket in hopes that they filled out every game perfectly. And, well, this video isn't going to help you do that because the chances of actually picking a perfect bracket are 1 in 9.2 quintillion. And yes, it's that many zeros. But I will give you 5 steps to hopefully improve your bracket and end up on the top of your bracket pool. So let's get started. Number 1, pick upsets. There's upsets every single year in March Madness, and for the purpose of your bracket, you're going to want to know which specific upsets to keep an eye on. Real quick, if you're not familiar with how March Madness works, there are 4 different regions of 16 teams, which are each seeded 1 through 16. The big upset that you want to look for is the 5 and 12 upsets. The 12 seed has actually beaten a 5 seed in 30 of the last 35 March Madness tournaments. In fact, during that same time span, a 12 seed beat a 5 seed 35.7% of the time. In the last tournament back in 2019, there were actually 3 different 12 seeds that upset 5 seeds in that tournament. So find 1, maybe 2 12 seeds that you can really get behind to pick as upsets. And I'd also recommend picking a couple 11 over 6 seed matchups. That's a very similar percentage in terms of the amount of games that the 11 seed has won over the 6 seed. So pick 1 or 2 12 seeds and probably 1 or 2 11 seeds in the first round. Regarding the 7, 10, and 8 and 9 matchups, these teams are often so close that even if a 10 or 9 seed wins, it's not even really considered that big of an upset usually. So these go about 50-50. So probably pick 50% 7 and 8s and 50% 9 and 10s, something like that, whatever you feel comfortable with. And as you might expect, it's pretty rare when the top 3 seeds lose a game in the first round. It does happen from time to time though, so I'll have future Aaron put the percentages of how often that happens right here. Thank you, future Aaron. Okay, and please do not pick a 16 seed over a 1 seed. Yes, I know the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, the 16 seed, beat Virginia, the 1 seed, back in 2018, but that's possibly a once-in-a-lifetime event. That particular upset is one of the biggest upsets in all of sports. It's only happened once. Number 1 seeds are 139-1 in games against 16 seeds, so just don't do it. I know it's kind of fun to think you might just get it right, but you won't. So if you've picked some upsets in your bracket, let me know what you picked. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read and see your upsets and compare them to mine and see if we agree or disagree. So I'll look for the comments. Number 2, then pick chalk. Yes, the upsets are awesome and might completely bust your bracket on day 1, but a lot of times those teams that cause the upsets don't last very long into later rounds. So as you get into later rounds, pick chalk or the best overall seeds. Let me explain. You know that 12-5 matchup I was talking about? Yes, 12 seeds do beat 5 seeds on a pretty regular basis in the first round, but only 15% of all 12 seeds move on to the Sweet 16. On the flip side, there has never been an Elite 8 without a number 1 seed, and over the last few tournaments, at least 80% of all Elite 8s have also had at least 2 seeds in the round. Okay, so hopefully you get my point. The higher seeds tend to do better because they're better teams and thus better seeds. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? But you will want to pick 1 double-digit seed to make it to the Sweet 16. And why? Well, you're going to want to do that because that's happened 33 out of the last 35 NCAA tournaments. The statistics also tell us to just put a 1 seed in your Final Four and probably put a 1 seed in your championship too. One outlier of this was UConn back in 2014. They were a 7 seed that not only made it to the Final Four and championship game, but won a national championship. But they're the only team ever to be worse than a 5 seed and win the championship. I feel like I should also point out that 7 of the last 10 national champions in basketball have had 5 or less losses in the regular season, so that's probably something else to keep in mind as you're making your championship selection. And just real quick, I got a lot of this information from a really helpful ESPN.com article. So I've linked that entire article in the description below. Go check it out. There's a lot. If you like numbers like me, there's a whole lot of statistics on different things. So much more than I can present in this video. So that's in the description below. Also, if you're finding this video helpful, then maybe consider subscribing to the channel. It turns out that a lot of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you're enjoying this video and you'd like to help me out, then hit that subscribe button. Number 3, look for hot teams. And let me explain what I mean by hot teams. These are teams that have won a lot of games in a row or have really started building momentum towards the end of the season. For example, in 2019, which was our last March Madness tournament, Virginia won 9 of their last 10 games before they won the national championship. And before them, Villanova in 2018 won not only their Big East Conference tournament, but then went on to win all of March Madness. It's interesting that teams with a perfect record coming into March Madness actually tend to not do very well. So Gonzaga is actually one of those teams this year. They're coming into the tournament undefeated. So if history tells us anything, it's actually that despite winning all of their games, this team isn't going to make it all the way to the championship. So I guess that's kind of an exception to the rule. Maybe at the very least avoid cold teams. And by that, I mean there has never been a team to lose the first game of their conference championship, but go all the way to win a national championship. Number 4, identify the best players. Basketball, more than really any other sport, can be taken over by just one really, really good player. Because of this, you might find some of the best players in March Madness and pick their teams further in the bracket than you might have otherwise. If you're watching this video before the 2021 tournament starts, then some of the best players in this year's tournament include Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State, Luka Garza from Iowa, and Jared Butler from Baylor. If you have any questions about these players or really anything I've mentioned so far in this video that I can't explain in this video, I spend a decent amount of time in the Just Chatting section on Twitch at twitch.tv/AaronLynn Gaming. So I'd love to answer any questions you might have, link in the description below. Number 5, watch out for injuries. Unfortunately, like any other sport, injuries can really cripple a team at a really bad time, and that's especially the case with March Madness when there's a lot of games in a short amount of time. One example for this 2021 tournament is the Michigan Wolverines. One of their top players, Isaiah Livers, unfortunately is out indefinitely with a stress fracture, and that's a pretty big deal for Michigan. They're the 1 seed, so they're expected to do some big things, but again, he's one of their best players. He's one of their oldest players. He has a lot of experience. In fact, he even played in the national championship game a few years ago. And unfortunately, COVID-19 is still making its impact felt across the world and definitely in college basketball. Kansas, who is a 3 seed in this year's tournament, actually had to leave 3 players behind who couldn't travel with the team to where the tournament is being played in Indianapolis due to COVID-19 restrictions. Okay, so I think that covers everything. Hopefully that all made sense. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Feel free to like this video too. For disclosure, you can run through all 5 of these tips and implement them to a T and still lose to your mom who picked the teams in the bracket based on the color of their uniforms. That's definitely never happened to me. Well, you know, it's just the nature of the beast. The NCAA tournament is so unpredictable, but that's part of what makes it so good. So I'm excited. The brackets will play itself out here in just a few days. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.